Good afternoon, everyone. Today I'm going to walk you over my presentation of actions within Photoshop. We are first of all going to define what are actions within the software, then assess my current level, and I'll walk you over the research that I have conducted to do some experimentation to later find the results that will lead me to projects that I want to do later on. So first of all, what are actions? Actions are a series of events that you can use within Photoshop that you can give a certain image and photo that you have gotten from the internet or what you have taken yourself, and it basically will replicate it and throughout this journey, I have discovered that there are three main principles that if you are to learn actions, you should keep in mind because these are essential in creating a successful process. That being using exact command and names, using dialogues, and also compose your actions with stops. So first of all, when I looked at actions for the very first time and when I kind of realized what they were, I decided to download a free one to see and test it out just to get a grasp of what actions are. And with this first initial look at it, I find out how to load actions into Premiere Pro if they're not done by yourself. And I managed to replicate here a picture that I had from a llama from a while ago and just try to give it this artistic look as the kind of edition was meant to do. And with this action, first of all, I just got the idea that whilst it's nice to get things from external means like the internet, you will always need actions for a particular scenario that someone online is not going to create for you. So that's what I wanted to do with my actions. Actions are meant for the user, so I had to find out how I can make my own. So with that, I went onwards to do a little bit of research and I found this very basic tutorial on YouTube that went over the basics of what an action is in Photoshop. And I also took a look at the user manual from Adobe itself to find out what would be the terminology and the UI that I needed to know so that I could utilize this process to the best of its abilities. It also helped me to get a grasp of what really an action is. It's not rather a set of code that the software is utilizing, but rather is simply a recording of your actions. It's kind of scary in a way because the computer knows what you're doing to the point. And that is basically what an action is. So every single mistake that you make, the computer is going to follow. So you have to quite be very creative in the way that you create actions. And that was something that stuck with me when I first decided to test it out. I grabbed this picture of an iguana that I had as well, and I wanted to apply it with sharpening. I wanted to apply it with a sharpening mask. I wanted to change it with contrast and saturation settings, and I also wanted to apply a gradient map overlay. This is something that I constantly tend to do with photos that I use. And basically I just wanted to see how I can do it easier. So I used what I learned. I created an action of myself, created a new folder, recorded, and used all the settings as before. And I ended up with a picture on the right, which is what I intended to, yes. But in the sense of the action, it was not really of much use because to use that action later on, it will basically replicate this image to the point again, but it won't give me too much flexibility in future projects that I wanted to do. So to take actions to the next level, I wanted to look onwards to smart actions, which is a way of taking defined layers and also taking dialogues and implementing them into the process. I found a kind of, I would say, more advanced tutorial, more professional tutorial, certainly, about actions on YouTube, and also follow the first 5 lessons that lynda.com had on it. And to show you the use of dialogues for actions, I want to show you now my experimentation number 2, which is, first of all, you can see my examples of using defined layers in step number 2. In step 3, I use something that is called stop, which is basically a way of giving the prompt to the user. If I was to share this with any one of you or somebody else, you will know exactly what to do in the particular options, and stop are used so that then you can open up dialogues by using the icon next to the process that you're going to follow within the actions menu, and it will open up windows like step 5 and 6 where actually you can change the settings for that particular option that you need. So by this way, I've been able to replicate here on the results different gradient maps and with different photos all together, and basically gives you the option of creating an action that can work for many different images at the same time, and that's real power. But to take this to the next level, I realized that actions can be a very powerful tool in creating new things from scratch. So in step 1, you can see what I do for thumbnails in my projects on my YouTube channel. And normally it takes me ages to do one of this, but by actions, I realized that I can just record the process that I do and try to apply it to a different image. So I have to be very creative in the way that I do this. So taking a photo that I have for my friend, step 2, that we took a long time ago in a photo shoot, I just find new ways of identifying those layers. So by taking an area around my image, I can just select it and then set it as a layer for subject, apply a background, and run the action through. By doing that, you see step 4, which sometimes I run into issues where the program just crashes altogether because it's too much of a load. But on step 5, I've ended up with the solution, which is almost kind of like step 1. It's not to the fullest because you don't see the drop shadow before, you don't see the letters, you don't see the background. I still need to work on the way that I create this action, but potentially it could save me hours and hours of work. I'm very happy with what I have learned, and I just want to reach a point now where I can be satisfied, but there's a long road ahead. Thank you for listening.